Apple just told the entire AI industry it's not playing their game anymore, and the org chart proves it. Plus, Anthropic's Claude Design is quietly killing the mock-up. Agents now have wallets and bank accounts, and the security holes in MCP are worse than you think. From the team at the Synthetic Daily, it's Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. Good to have you with us.
We went through about 40 posts, articles, and threads across LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube over the past week to dive deeper into the world of AI for builders.
Let's start with the biggest structural signal in tech this week. Tim Cook stepped down as Apple CEO, and the coverage has been all about smooth transitions and Apple lifers. That's fine, but Nate B. Jones made a really sharp observation that I think most people are missing. Look at the org chart underneath the announcement, and it tells you a completely different story.
The org chart is a hardware manifesto. The new CEO is John Ternus, a hardware engineer for 25 years at Apple. He's the guy who led the transition from Intel to Apple Silicon, which is arguably the most successful chip migration any consumer company has ever pulled off. Right below him, John Suji, who's been running Apple's chip design for a decade, now elevated to a brand new role, Chief Hardware Officer. So the top two executives at Apple are both silicon people. Neither comes from software. Neither comes from services. Neither comes from AI.
And here's why that matters. Apple has been running what's called a functional organization for 15 years. No iPhone team, no Mac team, no watch team. Instead, there's a hardware function, a software function, a services function, a design function, and the product emerges where they all intersect. Steve Jobs designed it that way on purpose because he believed product-owned orgs make incoherent devices. That model built the iPhone empire. It also produced the Apple Intelligence failure because generative AI is not an integration product. It's a velocity race. The Frontier Labs ship new models every quarter, sometimes every month. Apple's consensus-driven org chart can't move that fast.
Let me pull that thread a little more. So the Apple board had a choice. Put a software leader in charge and try to match OpenAI's cadence. Or admit they're losing a race they were never going to win and change the game entirely. They picked option 2. Jones also pointed out something critical that connects to this. Sam Altman has said publicly that OpenAI is losing money on ChatGPT Pro, even at $200 a month. The cloud AI business model, as it exists today, does not work at scale. Apple is betting that the future of AI isn't in the cloud, it's in the silicon in your pocket. That's a $1 trillion wager, and it just became official.
So here's the other thing. Anthropic launched Claude Design last week, and Figma stock took a hit. But as Nate B. Jones argued in a video that pulled over 50,000 views, the Figma story is actually the least interesting thing about this launch. The real story is that Claude Design is the third piece in a coordinated Anthropic stack, alongside Claude Code and Co-Work, that is quietly retiring the entire mockup-to-production pipeline.
I was reading through this and it made me think about what product teams have been doing for 20+ years. A designer makes a mockup. An engineer interprets that mockup. There's a handoff. There's a sprint. There are revisions. Claude Design collapses that entire chain. You can now paste a one-pager in and get a 12-slide pitch deck with a working chatbot embedded on slide 7. Not a screenshot. A live demo a VC can actually interact with in the meeting. You can generate animated product explainer videos rendered in code, meaning you can tweak the color palette or retime the whole thing without starting over. You can point it at your existing codebase and have it extract a complete design system, typography, component patterns, the works, in minutes instead of the multi-week design ops engagement that used to be required.
Now, Ben Childs over at Ben's Bytes offered a useful counterpoint after playing with Claude Co-Work for his Stanford talk. He called it, quote, comically bad for the average Jane. A lot of the capabilities depend on connectors and plugins that regular users don't know exist. Scheduled tasks stop when you shut your laptop lid. The gap between what power users can do and what normal people experience is enormous right now. But the direction is unmistakable. The mock-up, that artifact that entire team structures and job descriptions are organized around, is becoming optional. Designers aren't going away, but the hours they spend on execution versus judgment are about to shift dramatically. All right, next up, here's something that should make you sit up a little straighter. Within 24 hours of Coinbase launching its Agentic wallets, 10,000 new AI agents registered wallets on Ethereum. 10,000 in a single day. That's not developer experimentation. That's an ecosystem forming in real time.
I want to add something to that. Coinbase built these wallets on a protocol called X402 that has already processed over 50 million machine-to-machine transactions. The wallets come with programmable spending limits, session caps, and non-custodial architecture, meaning even if an agent gets compromised, the private keys sit in secure hardware the agent itself can't access. Brian Armstrong's pitch was, quote, "The next generation of agents won't just advise, they'll act." Which, sure, sounds like a press release. But what he didn't say is more interesting. The architecture implies that agents with wallets become real economic entities that can earn, spend, and accumulate capital independently of the humans who created them. That's a category of software that has literally never existed. And it's a legal mess nobody has figured out yet.
On the traditional payment side, Stripe is building toward the same endpoint. Their Agentic Commerce Suite lets businesses connect a product catalog and start selling through AI agents with a single integration. They've created what they call shared payment tokens, scoped, time-constrained credentials that let an agent initiate a purchase using your saved payment method without ever seeing your card number. And here's a detail I love. Stripe had to retrain their entire fraud detection system, Radar, from scratch because all the old signals were calibrated for human shopping behavior. Agents don't browse the way humans do. They don't hesitate. They don't comparison shop across tabs. The behavioral signatures are completely different, and the fraud models had to learn an entirely new pattern. Cloudflare's new browser run fits into this picture too. Persistent browser sessions for agents with human-in-the-loop handoffs when the agent hits a login wall. The plumbing for an agent-native internet is being laid right now, one primitive at a time. Let's talk about something that's uncomfortable but important. Rock Lambrose raised a related concept he calls context rot. The idea that large context windows create an illusion of intelligence while quietly degrading an agent's ability to recall accurately over long sessions. As agents get more autonomous, as they get wallets and browser sessions, and the ability to execute real transactions, these aren't theoretical vulnerabilities anymore. They're operational risks. And the protocol that's becoming the standard plumbing for agent-tool interaction, MCP, has a known, unpatched remote code execution path that the vendor has classified as expected behavior. That's worth paying attention to. Moving on, there's a fascinating cultural shift happening in how people actually use these AI coding tools day to day, and it showed up across multiple posts and videos this past week. A creator who goes by ICOR with Tom published a detailed walkthrough of his setup. 30-plus specialized AI agents running in parallel off a local folder. No third-party tools, no code. He's got an orchestrator agent named Larry who delegates tasks, an HR agent named Nolan who hires new specialist agents when needed, and a senior researcher named Pax who figures out what the perfect specialist would look like for any given job. It sounds quirky, but there's a real insight underneath the naming convention.
Tom's argument is that AI is trained on human data, so the organizational metaphors that work for human teams, delegation, specialization, clear handoffs, also work for AI teams. And he's not alone. On LinkedIn, Abdirahman Jama, Gadir Aurway-Shady, and Ruben Hasid all posted detailed breakdowns of Claude Code folder structures this week. Claude.md files that act as persistent instruction manuals, rules directories that load contextually, /commands for repeatable workflows, skill files that trigger automatically based on intent. The common thread is that the people getting the best results have stopped thinking of AI as a chatbot you prompt and started thinking of it as an environment you configure.
Anthropic reinforced this shift by officially shipping agent teams. Multiple Claude instances working together on a codebase, with a lead agent coordinating and teammates working independently, each with its own context window, messaging each other directly. The killer use case people are already talking about is what they're calling competing hypotheses debugging. Your app crashes, you spawn 5 agents, each investigates a different theory, and they try to disprove each other. The one that survives is your answer. We've gone from write me a function to run a parallel investigation. The skill that matters now isn't prompt engineering, it's organizational design. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture. What are the main themes running through everything we covered today? The first big theme is hardware as AI strategy. The companies that control the silicon layer are positioning to capture AI value that cloud-only players structurally cannot, because inference economics favor on-device compute as models commoditize.
Next, the agent economy bootstraps. Payment infrastructure, browser primitives, and multi-agent orchestration are converging to create software entities that transact autonomously, raising regulatory questions that no jurisdiction has answered.
Next, design-to-production collapse. When the same tool that generates a mockup can also ship the working code, the organizational boundary between design and engineering becomes a cost center rather than a quality gate.
Next, security debt in the agent stack. The rush to standardize agent protocols is outpacing the security review cycle, and vendors classifying remote code execution as expected behavior sets a dangerous precedent for the entire ecosystem.
And the last one, from prompting to systems thinking. The highest leverage AI users are converging on the same insight independently. Persistent configuration beats per session prompting, which means the meta skill is now closer to systems administration than conversation.
So if you're going to take away a few things from today's episode, here's what I'd remember.
Number 1. When a company puts chip designers in the CEO and COO seats during an AI race, that's not a response to the moment. That's a thesis.
Number 2. The fraud detection systems built for human behavior are already obsolete for agent commerce, and we're only at 10,000 agent wallets.
Number 3. The most underrated AI skill right now isn't prompting. It's the ability to design persistent systems that make prompting unnecessary.
And finally, a protocol with 150 million downloads and an unpatched remote code execution vulnerability that the vendor calls expected behavior is a ticking clock, not a philosophical debate.
That's the Synthetic Daily for today. All the sources and links are on the website if you want to dig deeper.
Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.